few months ago I picked up a performance 12-speed carbon group set from the internet for 300 quid. I'm just on a bike ride with Jimmy, and today's episode is going to be a comprehensive review because now I've put some good miles on it. I'm riding it today in the rain in the northeast. What do you think?
Of the weather, of today, or of your group set?
No, of my sick group set.
Oh, Jesus.
So this is a Sensah Empire Pro 12-speed. Is this potentially a 105 killer? It's the same kind of weight, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper. You can find this group set and group sets like this on AliExpress, which is a Chinese business to consumer platform. Functions just like a normal online shopping website. You order the stuff and then it turns up usually a few weeks later because most of the stuff does come from China. I initially bought this group set for just over £300 and I've only made one change to it since I bought it in the first place, which was the brakes. Because my road bike is disc brakes, I had to get the disc brake version of the group set, and it comes as a package with these nut calipers. They turned out not to be very good, so I only had them on for a few days and switched them to the Juntech F1s, which is a very popular brake from China as well, which is cable actuated but has a hydraulic reservoir inside which makes it much stronger. Other than that, everything else is from that package, and it's gone onto my Scott foil frame set. I've now run this setup for over 1,000 miles, ridden it through Europe all the way to Switzerland through 4 different countries, and not cleaned it at all. So it's had a pretty good test. In this video, I'm gonna break it all down piece by piece and let you know what I thought of each component.
I'd say the most surprising thing about this group set is that it actually looks quite good.
What do you mean it actually looks? Of course it does.
Yeah, but you kind of expect it to be like horrible.
The shifters are really comfortable. They're really small, and I thought they were like unusually small when I first tried them, but it's just because I've been using hydraulic shifters with a reservoir inside, and they all tend to be slightly bigger. So compared to Dura-Ace, they're about the same size. The ergonomics are good, they're very comfortable to use. For some reason, my order came with 2 different materials for the hood. So there's rubber on this one, which is like super smooth, and then the rubber on this one, you won't really be able to see it on camera, has got like a rougher texture to it. Now I actually contacted the seller on AliExpress and mentioned that they were different and asked if I could have a replacement one, and they said yes. All you have to do is pay $1 to this link and then they would post it to me. I didn't end up going through with it in the end, but I imagine it would have just turned up at my house, and then I would have a matching pair. So fair play to them. Customer service, not bad at all.
It is really quite rough, isn't it? It's definitely, it's not like, that's like smooth and silky, and then that's like very fine sandpaper.
Well, do you think that's more aero?
I don't think it works like that. Maybe it does, I don't know.
You may have heard me talk in previous episodes that there was a little spiky thing on the edge of the shifters which kind of spiked your hand a bit. It's one of the pivot points, and if you run your finger over it, it kind of catches, and that was spiking my hands while I was riding. Since that video, I've realised that in actual fact you can just press it in and it disappears, and then it starts poking out the other side. So, I mean, it's not good. There is lever reach adjustment, which is something we always talk about in the bike fit videos. There is a, what does it say?
Brake in, out.
Very easy to understand. So if you get an Allen key and you poke it into there, you can then wind the lever in or out depending on how big your hands are, which is an excellent feature. To be fair, they have started introducing that in the lower end Shimano group sets now, right down to Claris, but it's nice to see that it is also a feature here. They're definitely not scrimping on the features. It's spike. No. Is it spiky?
I think you've been a little bit dramatic, to be honest. Like, how much do these shifters cost? It's not like a piece of glass.
No, it's not going to cut you. But people are comparing it to 105.
How do you hold it for that to get in the way? Like doing this when you ride. So I'm not even touching it. What are you doing?
Testing it to the max.
In terms of shifting performance, it's very clicky and very positive feeling. I let my drivetrain get really dirty over the course of the last 1,000 miles, and there hasn't been any issues with the shifting at all. To shift it, you push the whole lever in a long way to shift up, and then one small click to shift down the other way. When you're reaching the limits of the cassette, when you reach the biggest cog, you'll actually reach a stop. So it won't force you to shift back down like you would with the old SRAM group sets. It means you don't suddenly run out of gears and then end up shifting back down the cassette into a harder gear, so when you're on a climb, you don't get a nasty shock and end up in a bigger gear than you want to be. In my opinion, very thoughtful for them to have put that in. Interlude. This is Jimmy, who's been helping me with today's video. He owns Attacus, which is a kit brand. Some of you may recognise him from previous episodes. You may now have the next 30 seconds to say whatever you want.
We have a summer sale right now, 30% off on the website. Free shipping in nearly everywhere in the world over a certain amount, but most places. We also have a pop-up shop, which we're doing stuff at, which we're currently in right now. Should we have a little look? The end.
Link down below in the description if you want 30% off some cycling kit. 30%? That's a lot. Front and rear derailleurs. What can I say? There's not much to say, which is a good thing. The rear one's 12 speed, the front's a double. It looks just like a derailleur should, and it functions just like a derailleur should. Same with the back. This goes up to a 34, so you can actually run quite a big cassette. Cage is quite long, never needed indexing, and worked the whole time. In terms of shifting, mechanical shifting, I'm well impressed.
How does that work? How does it
pulls the cable.
How does
That's it. Just
yeah,
pulls
but
the cable.
how does it know the difference between down and up? It's very nice. It's actually quite rare for a front mech trim to actually work properly.
Yeah, it's got trimming.
It like actually works.
There's a feature. The front mech has trimming. If you have insufficient cable tension, if your cable is stretched, if the ferrules have bedded in and you don't know how to adjust it, you can usually just push the lever a little bit more, and it has about 4 positions of trim, so you can make sure your front mech is in the perfect place and it doesn't rub.
So that you don't get chain rub when you're in the big ring as well.
Big chain ring, big tooths on the cassette, then you could get away with it not rubbing, which in a race scenario is quite important.
That isn't great for the chain because it will wear more, but you can do it. If you're caring less about the durability of the chain and more about having good range for racing or whatever, then it works.
I feel like it works is going to be the underlying theme of most of what we're saying today. It works.
I really like that click. It just sounds nice. I don't know why. Feedback. What other buzzwords can we go with? Good.
Chain set. This isn't the actual chain set. This is a 1x1 of the same brand. So Sensah make the derailleurs and the shifters, but in the package you get a Senix crankset. So this is almost exactly the same, just with one chain ring on. It's SRAM dub fitting, and it's a really good crank. Didn't have any issues with it at all. They're reviewed quite well. They're all just aluminium, easy to find parts that fit it. So because it's SRAM dub, you can just get a SRAM dub bottom bracket, which is what we put inside this bike. This double that's on the bike is a 50-34. There are other options available. If you wanted to go bigger, you can get 53-39. So all standard sizes are in the options when you order one of these. Now this is a chain that comes with a group set. Again, different brand, YBN, or Yaban I think is the full name for it. Now you're probably thinking the same thing as me. Never heard of that brand. Am I going to be able to trust it? Chain's a pretty important part of the bike and you don't want it to be snapping while you're riding. But in actual fact, there's a website called Zero Friction Cycling, and they are the people that wax chains. They're specialists in it. From what I've been told, they exclusively use YBN chains because they come without any packing grease whatsoever, and then they can wax them and sell them on for slightly more money. I didn't have any problems, didn't snap my chain, and it's been shifting flawlessly, so very happy. The YBN chain that came with this group set package actually arrived with no packing grease whatsoever, which is brilliant for waxing. The second YBN chain that I received from AliExpress in a different package did have packing grease on it. So a bit of inconsistency there. I don't know exactly what you need to look for if you want the ones without the packing grease, but there you go. That is a problem with ordering stuff from AliExpress. You don't always know what you're going to get.
My first thought when you mentioned these chains, I was just like, I would not want to ride one. But what I have on my side if I was to use one is the fact that you've used one for quite a few miles now, and it's been fine. So that means you've done the reviewing testing for me.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
No worries, mate.
You survived.
I did. Not much to say. It worked really well. This is a 34. Actually looks massive. They're heavy. It's nothing special. It's basically one piece except for the last 2 sprockets. Comes with a lock ring. Fits Shimano HG 3 hubs.
Have you counted all the teeth to double check it's actually...
What, they've just printed 34 and it's not really a 34. 34.
What about the next one?
On the whole, cassette was brilliant. It's not worn, and because it's quite a heavy one, it's probably made out of decent stuff. You can get super light cassettes from AliExpress, and I've actually ordered you one as a present, but they're made of aluminium and they just wear out super fast. So in my opinion, I'd rather run one of these or from a more known brand, and you know it's going to last a little bit longer. What?
Why have you ordered me a super light cassette from AliExpress?
Why do you think, Jimmy?
Top secret project!
Top secret project. BB. So this is the one that it comes with. There are no options, or there wasn't any when I ordered this, for a press fit BB. They only give you a threaded one. So I didn't end up using it because this frame set is press fit. So if anyone wants a bottom bracket, do you want this? Bear that in mind, you might have to source your own BB if your bike is press fit.
We talking brakes now?
The worst bit.
They look. I really like the look of them. They've got like they've got presence.
Lots of people who are running more entry-level group sets on their bikes and they're cable actuated are running hybrid calipers. So calipers that have a small hydraulic reservoir inside, but they operated by a cable. So you can use cabled shifters with disc brakes that are hydraulic. This improves the stopping power significantly, and that's why I went with these. These are Junetech F1s, and they've got a good reputation online. They are a massive upgrade from these, which are just cable operated, but on this frame, they're still not very good. I think the main problem with these brakes is that they're fitted to a frame which has internal routing. So the cable comes out of here, round into the handlebars, out of a tiny little hole into the headset, and then down into the fork, and then down into the frame for the rear one. That's way too much twisty-turny for it to be a nice smooth line, and they just end up feeling really, really spongy. I would say they're safe to ride. I rode a 25 kilogram bike all the way to Switzerland, and they worked. They were safe, but they weren't very fun to use. They weren't nice to use. They're not a premium feeling product. If you had a bike which was completely externally routed, and you had much smoother lines for the cables, I think these would be way more usable, and I'd find it easier to recommend them. But if you've got a frame where the cables run inside, I can't recommend them. They're spongy and horrible.
So they still stop. So if you're on a budget, it probably is a good solution. If you can't afford full hydro, but you still want a disc brake that works, and you're willing to sacrifice the general feel of that brake, but it still work really well in all weather conditions, it's a good option.
If you're in the buying process, I would actually recommend just go for a rim brake bike, and you'll have much nicer feeling brakes all round.
With alloy rim surfaces, not carbon surfaces.
Depends on the carbon surface, but yeah.
Have you used, what's it called, compressionless?
Funny you should mention that, Jimmy. I have some right here. I haven't opened it yet, but I don't think, even with all the twists and turns, I think it's still going to feel crap. This is going to be a future video. The other thing you could do to improve the braking performance of a system like this is better rotors. You can get floating rotors, because these ones are just cheap steel rotors. They're a bit heavy. Also, these Junetech F1s you can fit with Shimano mountain bike brake pads, which are a softer compound, will probably improve the braking performance again. I just wanted to test them as close to stock as possible to give you an idea of how they work. And I mean, like we've discussed, it's good. What do you think this is comparable to conclude?
It is a tough one, isn't it?
Everyone compares it to 105.
I actually think the best thing it compares to is rim brake mechanical 105. And I say 105 because it clearly functions really well, and it's incredibly good value for money. This group set with proper hydro brakes is going to be the Shimano killer.
We've heard rumours that might be on the horizon. I'm interested to test out if it does end up existing. In terms of price, it's basically half of a rim brake 105 group set, so almost worth experimenting with. I think that's my conclusion. It's cheap enough that it's worth trying. I can't comment on the consistency of the parts. You might have a completely different experience from me. If you're in the market for a group set that you can race on, Harry Mack has been racing it in elite crits in the UK, with the peace of mind that if he does crash and he smashes up some parts, it's not the end of the world. He can replace them for, a lot less than if he was running Ultegra or something like that. So on the whole, I'm happy. Let us know if you have any questions in the comment section down below. Big thanks to Jimmy for helping me out with this video. Next up, I think we should make you something.